Hey folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we are going to work on a ribbon bookmark. Now, a ribbon bookmark is simply a bookmark that's made from a ribbon, which will go between the pages, and then on either side we'll hang a bead strand to make it be really pretty. So let's turn down and we'll get started on that. So the first thing you want to do is well, you need to get some of your parts out. These are the ribbon ends. They will fold over onto the ribbon, and I will add a little bit of Loctite on these so I don't have to worry about my ribbon slipping out. We have we've got 4 crimp tubes, because you'll want one at the top and one at the bottom of either side. There'll be 2 sides to our thing. These little beads are going to go on the end, so when you bring your beading wire around, they'll be on the end to give it a little decoration. Now I pulled these 4 really pretty, I guess they're tiny pony beads, but out of some of my stash stuff so that we could, I think those will be pretty. And then I also have my Jessie James Beads Mini Mix Ice Cream Taro Root Ice Cream. So anyway, I'm thinking that we'll just dump this out here. I really love these little hearts, but the hole goes sideways, so they really won't work for this particular thing. We could put a tassel on the bottom of either one if we wanted to. I'm trying to decide. I was thinking these pink ones, and I know I had a second one, but I just dropped it a minute ago, so it is what it is. So maybe I think I'm going to get some of my flowers out, because I think that would be really pretty with this. So we'll get the flowers out, and then we'll go from there. Sorry, getting my little hearts out of my way since they are not really useful for this pattern. Okay, I got a couple of little purple and white flowers out. They'll go well enough with this to be able to be part of our bead strand. Now we want our bead strand to be, about, how long is that? We don't want it very long. 2, maybe 2.5 inches. If you make it too long, then it's just unwieldy. So we don't want to make it be too long. So we're going to put this flower in the middle. And maybe we'll put this, no, we don't have 4. We need 4 if we're going to use these. But we only have 2 left. Anything other than our focal bead, you're going to need 2 of. So we've got 4 of. So we're going to have maybe some of these shell beads, and actually could hang also these little pieces on the bottom as well if you wanted to. I have done that before. It's rather pretty. Okay. Good, just enough of these pretty things here. Let's see. I think these are going to be smaller than we want, so we will take them out. And frankly, I think we may have it long enough now. Once I put some spacers in there, it's going to be about, it's almost 3, so it's definitely long enough. We'll just get a few spacers out to put in here. And then we will start putting her together. So we can put this up, since we won't need any more of it for right now. And I'm going to get a little tray to put our other side in until we get to it. So this is one side, this is the other side. And like I say, I'm going to go get a few spacers and then we will be ready to put it together. Okay, so I have got my Softflex beading wire in Amethyst out, since we're working with purple. And I can tell you that I have used wire guardians with these before, but when it comes right down to it, they are, the guardians won't go through here really well. And they get stuck and it's not very fun. So what I do to mitigate that, since I don't really want my wire to go on the edge of this because it is a little bit abrasive, I just use a tiny jump ring between the between this and our bead strand. So let's get our bead strand started. And we will we don't need a lot of wire, about, 4 or 5 inches. Let's see how much I have here. That's plenty, so we'll cut that off. Put the wire aside for our second side. Then the first thing we want to do is we want to take one of our crimp beads, and then the little round bead that we want for the bottom, and we're going to crimp this onto here. Just pull it up tight because we want our bead to be right there at the very end. And then we're going to crimp this. Now, this crimp tube is a magical crimper. It has a divot right here. You put your crimp tube right in the center of that and squish. And then do it again all the way around till you get a little round ball. And let's pull. Okay, it seems to be fine. So now let's start seeing if we can thread our beads onto here, and if we need to cut some of that off the end. So we're going to start with this little dyed shell. And it goes through both just fine. And its spacer. Now the spacer might give you problems. Sometimes they don't have the biggest hole in the world. So if it doesn't want to go through, this is where you want to trim your wire at. And this may be the case here. Oh, there she goes. She's on. So then after that, we're going to put this pretty white one on here. Now this is a relatively large hole bead, and if you don't want it slipping around, you can always put a bit of rubber tubing in here. In fact, let me see if I can find mine. Anyway, here is my rubber tubing. I have this in lavender too, but I couldn't find it. And since we're going to put this in the white bead, I figured it was fine. So you just need a teeny bit, because you just need enough to sink into that bead. So we're going to just cut off a few pieces of the really this stuff, just a tiny bit. And that should be plenty big enough. In fact, it might even be too big because the bead is not that big. So just, we'll put this aside for when we want to do the second one. So then we're going to slide the tubing down here and then let it go into the bead. Now, there we go. See how that fit just perfectly right in there, and that'll keep it from wiggling around here. So then we're going to put our, nope, it doesn't need this spacer because I have this one that I'm going to put around this purple bead. I'm not sure I like those potato chip type in here. I'm going to put the regular spacers, change it back to the regular spacers and take those out. Isn't that going to be pretty? Now here is where we want that little piece of rubber tubing again. Since that other one was perfect and this one is a teeny bit bigger, I'm going to cut this one in half. Because even though the other one was perfectly fitted in there, it didn't have to be that big, and I'm going to drop the other half in here with the other side. So tubing in, down in the hole, and our spacer. And now we're at the end. That's what we're going to do. Isn't that cute? So now that we've got all the beads on, we want to put our crimp tube on. And because we are going to put this on with a jump ring, we're going to put the jump ring on right now. And then go through our crimp tube and our first bead. If we can get it to behave and do that. I notice my wire is a little bit rough on the end here. I probably got it jagged some, and that may be why she won't go in. So we'll cut the very tippy top off. Don't want to cut much off because I didn't leave us much working space on this wire. I should have. I think with the other side, we're going to cut maybe 5.5 inches, so we have a little bit more wire to work with. Come on, go in the bead. There we go. Okay. Oh, it went through the other bead too. I think it's through here and into our big bead, but I don't think I want it there, so let's get you out of there. There we go. And There it is, right there. So get hold of it, give it a pull. So it is down here. Now we'll get our crimp pliers out and get our crimp right in the middle there and squish and squish. Give it a tug test. That's good. And then we're going to cut off this extra little bit of wire. So this is the one side of our bookmark done, and now we will get some wire out and start on the second side. Now I think we just did 4.5 to 5 inches on that side, and it was almost too small for us. So let's give it at least 5, maybe 5.5. I always try to err on the side of I have too much as opposed to I don't have enough. So again, we're going to do exactly what we did. We're going to decided not to use those, so we can take those out. We'll dump the rest of this stuff out here on the ground or on the mat, as the case may be. And these can go back inside here, so we can put them away later. So now we want to find our crimp tube and our little gold bead for the bottom. Wrap it around our little gold bead through the crimp tube and pull her up. And then crimp it. This end is always easier because you don't have anything you have to fight with so much other than that one tiny bead, and you're going to push it straight up to it as tight as you can. There we go. Now we will start with our beads. We'll get this. This one doesn't seem to have as big a hole as its buddies do because it doesn't seem to want to go on so easily. Wonder if we flipped it, if it will work better the other way. Let's find out. Yeah, it did go through better that way. Well, that's good. Then we have spacer, the white guy, and we have this little bit of rubber tubing from the other side that we can push right down into it right away. Okay, now I notice that spacer is a little smaller, so we'll need the new one, but we also need that little teeny bit of rubber spacing, or rubber tubing, I should say. So let's get this little baby out, and we'll cut just a teeny weeny little notch off, like maybe that much. This rubber tubing works perfect for putting in beads that have a slightly larger hole than you want to have. You could also use a seed bead. That works really good as well. So there we go. That guy's in there. Now, like I said, I need to get one more spacer because that one is the wrong size. Well, I don't need that many. 1, I said. Now see, I cut extra wire and now I have a ton of extra wire. But perfect. So now our crimp tube and our jump ring. Now doing the jump ring right here is simply to give me something to hold on to so that when we put it back through and pull, we're not sinking our wire out of our crimp. Come on, you. See how much easier it is to work though with when you have plenty of wire as opposed to when you only have a teeny bit. I would much rather waste this bit of wire than have to fight with it like I did it a minute ago. So now this one's pretty tight up here, so we can make it a little tighter yet. Push this down, get our crimpers in, and get them in the middle and swoosh. Now since we decided to attach these to jump rings and then to our, make sure I'm not cutting anything I don't want to cut here, and instead of directly to these, we don't have to worry so much about these. Not only do we not have to worry about them cutting our wire, but we also don't have to worry about hooking our ribbon on while they're on there. We can wait until after they dry somewhat before we have to put them on. So since we are going to need to get the ribbon, we'll get the ribbon out. We need about, I make these for paperback books. Most paperback books are 7 inches, so I make them at least 7.5, so they have a little space. I sometimes make them 8. If you want them for something like a trade paperback I think is 9 inches, so you would have to make them larger yet. But like I say, I make them generally for just simple paperback books. So what we need is some ribbon. I think we're going to go with this dark purple, and we want to cut at least 7.5 to 8 inches of ribbon. Now remember, the end of your ribbon is going to go into your holder here, so that's going to take off some of your space. So I'm going to make mine 8. I'll just cut the ribbon off here. Now this is a really fine ribbon, skinny little ribbon. You can get holders that are slightly bigger and go with a bigger ribbon if you want. I just have always used this size, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to get my silicone mat out because, well, I don't want glue all over my regular mat. And we will bring these two forward, and then I will get my Loctite glue. I usually use E6000, but on these I use Loctite super glue, or regular super glue for that matter, if that's what I've got on hand at the time. So let's find the Loctite. So then you put a little dab of your Loctite right in the flat area there by the ring. And then you'll put your ribbon onto it. Get the other side over here. Let it dry for a few minutes before you get your pliers out and tighten that up. Now, let me warn you, you don't want to use your favorite pliers on this. You will get glue in your on them, and you won't appreciate it any. So while that's there, I'm going to bring these in some. And then take and squish the one side down. Bring the other side over. And this can be a little tricky because it doesn't want to always go down. There we go. That side. Now we want to get our other side. So once you've got it in there, take your pliers and squish it down really good. Come on, you. Stop flipping over. These bookmarks were actually the first thing I started making. Tighten that up. Bring the other side over. So then, of course, once you've got them all folded, you tighten them down good, because you don't want them falling out before they're entirely dry. So now there's our ribbon piece. And we're going to now want to hook our pieces to the end. So, of course, we'll just do that. We can take the mat out now. I think we're dry enough. Yeah, I don't feel any sticky on it anymore. So then we just take our jump rings, open them up, and hook it through the little loop there on the end. There's one side, get the other side, and this is finished. Put her on. this loop here and tighten her up. There we go. And this is our bookmark. Isn't it pretty? I like it a lot. I have a book here. So how this works is you just open your book up wherever you're at. Take your ribbon, feed it between the pages, like so. And then your pretty beads hang out either side to keep your place. Like there. So there we go. This is how it hangs in your book with the ribbon between your pages. And I think that one turned out very, very pretty. There we go. Isn't that a nice, pretty ribbon bookmark? I really like them. I think they turn out really nice. And with the beading wire, I used to use hemp to do the bead strands, and then I just tie a knot in the bottom instead of doing this. But I find they're much stronger with the beading wire, and you don't have to worry about the string breaking as much. So anyway, there is our bookmark.